I think we are live. Hi, guys. My name is Chris. I'm a happiness coach here to share with you the cheat codes to happiness and easy, common sense, logical ways that you can create the kind of life you want.
And I'm Sharon Hoffman. I guide you to your wisdom to solve any situation and make any dream come alive. Welcome to Happy and Wise. We're so pleased to be here with you today. And let me just say this, we have a topic to introduce to you. And before I introduce that topic, which a lot of people have a lot of juice for, I want to tell you that we're here for you and want to entertain any questions you might have. So please put your questions for us in the chat at any time. And you can even come up here with us. So you're invited to be on video or to be audio only, or to just put your questions in the chat. We're live to you from my Facebook page, Sharon Hoffman, and from Chris's YouTube channel, Chris Newth. So we're so pleased to be here. The reason we're together, collaborating in this space with you, is because we have our own stories about how we came to this information, but we access the same information and we share it in slightly different ways that are very complementary. We met on Clubhouse, which if you haven't heard of Clubhouse, now's the time to get in on it. It is a smartphone app that is like your own personally curated radio. It's completely free, it's global, and you get to interact with people who are like you, any topic you're interested in. I've hosted a show twice a week for over 3 years. Chris has been a frequent guest, and Chris hosts as well in other spaces in Clubhouse. So anybody can host, anybody can attend. You're all invited to join us there whenever you want. So now I think let's get on with the topic. What do you think, Chris?
Yes, let's do it. I'm excited. Today's topic, one of my favorite things to talk about is dreams, and how we can create that, how we can move towards that, how we can create the kind of life that we want, and manifest these goals and dreams, no matter how big they are.
Yeah, so many people want to crack the code on how to do it. You know, people are always saying, how do I do it on purpose? Sometimes I manifest things, sometimes I don't. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So today we're going to share our own manifest stories, each of us, and tell you our individual processes, and we'll see where we line up, where we differ. There are different pathways to the same light. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, totally.
And we're going to share a few of them with you. If you have your own you want to share, really, we want to hear from you. Please go ahead and put that into the chat, or let us know you'd like a link to join us here on video live or audio. And we'd love to hear your stories as well.
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely. What I love about this topic is that there are so many ways to understand it, so many ways to practice it. And so I'm super curious about what your specific process is, but I guess maybe it's good to start with what things have we manifested that have brought joy or success or fulfillment in our lives. Sharon, what would you say, of all the things that you've manifested and created for your life, what are some things that really mean something to you?
So many things. The most recent one is where I'm tuning in from today, which, by the way, is Mill Valley, Northern California, USA. And I had decided a little while before my move, I moved here about a year ago, a little over a year, that this is exactly where I wanted to live. But I had a very specific area within this town, a very specific type of a house that I wanted. It was super narrow. There's not a lot of real estate here, and a lot is a very desirable town because it's nestled in the woods. So that was a huge thing. I manifested like that. And it felt like magic, Chris. I just couldn't believe how quickly it happened. But I started out, it was sort of a disaster the way I started out because I was doing everything the wrong way.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And then a friend reminded me, that this is what happens so often. We forget what we know.
Yeah.
And then we remember again. And so it can be, kind of like moving with a wave.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going up, sometimes it's going down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can tell you what I did wrong and how I course corrected and then how I landed this place. It's kind of unbelievable to me still.
Yeah, let's get into it. I would love to hear.
Okay. So all of a sudden I had to leave the house where I was living a couple towns away. I was given 60-day notice and I went to a lawyer and he's like, yeah, you can't get out of this. And here's a crazy thing, Chris. I wanted to move to this town, but I was like, oh, it's not a good time. I was talking myself out of it. And this was like a universal kick in the pants, get going. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, somebody forcing me into a situation without giving me a lot of time. So it didn't feel very good. So I started out feeling very anxious, kind of untethered, because to me, home is sanctuary. It is my foundation in life. If my home doesn't feel right, nothing feels right. That's just how I'm built. And so I was spinning a little bit. So I started looking in this area and, the places weren't right. And a friend of mine said, you're really anxious. This is all the stuff I was doing wrong. I was making to-do lists. I was looking at every ad. I was making myself crazy. And I was feeling very anxious on the inside. So that's a surefire way to know I was moving.
That's a sign. Yeah.
That's a sign. I wasn't moving in a good direction to manifest. Right. Because when we're all lined up, then everything feels really good. So she said to me, and shout out to Anne, if you're watching, thank you, Anne. She said to me, why don't you take 24 hours off? Just relax. Just take 24 hours, chill out, and then go back to it. And that was all I needed to just kind of recenter in myself. And I had mentioned to somebody that I was looking for a place who works in Mill Valley. If you hear of anything, let me know. So during that 24-hour period, my dream house, this house came to me. She texted me a photo of this house and it wasn't listed and no information. But I reached out to a friend. So now what I'm doing is I'm following the threads of inspired ideas. Okay. Yes. So this is a huge part. So relaxing into just an alignment, a feel-good place, and then waiting for the inspiration, not making to-do lists because my mind is saying this is what you got to do to find a place, and there's not a lot of places. Spinning. Right. Instead, right, I get this picture, I'm thinking my gut instinct is like, yes, follow up on this one, figure out where it is. This person pops into my head who's a realtor in this town. I reach out to her. She says, I know the person who's the listing agent for that house. And the next morning, she sends me the name and the phone number of the owner.
Wait, how did you know that the house was even available? Did you see a sign? Was it just empty?
No sign. No, I just got a picture of it from no. And in fact, it wasn't listed anywhere. And the owner had been away for a month. That's why it wasn't listed. They weren't finding the right person. Yeah. They go away for a month. They had just come back and I texted and sure.
So the timing was perfect.
Timing couldn't have been more perfect. But here's the thing, Chris, the crazy thing. So I'm talking to him on the phone and he says, you don't have a dog, do you? And I'm like, yeah, of course I have a dog. Who doesn't have a dog in Mill Valley? There's probably more dogs per capita here than practically anywhere in the nation. I mean, there are a lot of dogs. And so he said, oh, well, my family's dead set against dogs in the house because this place is historic. It was lovingly restored, redwood doors. You can't replace them. And I said, well, my dog doesn't do any damage. I promise you that. He's like, yeah, I hear that. I've heard that before. And I said, okay, well, I'm not sure what to tell you. And he said, well, why don't you come by and look at it anyway? I said, well, I don't want to waste your time. He's like, no, come by. Oh. And a week later, that place was mine.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's so cool.
And I knew the second I walked in, I knew it was my house. I knew it. And let me tell you, Chris, so many people wanted this place. I came back just sort of unannounced just to look at it again. And they happened to be there, this father and son. They were on a FaceTime call with somebody from the East Coast who wanted to look at it and was going to be relocating. All these people came and looked at it. And the one with the dog got it.
Wow. That is so cool. Yeah. That is so exciting. Yeah. God, there are so many elements to that story that I resonate with and that I know other people have had those too. Like my mom is someone who, when she walks into a house, if she knows that that's going to be what she wants, then she does feel it too. She just has this knowing feeling inside, right?
It's like an energy thing. It's all the cylinders were like lining up. Like this is a big yes.
Yes, right. And we also had Jen on a couple weeks ago, and her story was included something like this too, where she put a request to rent a space for her business, and the landlord had rejected so many people before, but accepted hers because the timing was just right. It was just, who knows exactly why certain things happen or why yeses are here and no's are here or whatever. But I think a lot of it just has to do with it. No matter how things play out, there are ways that we can steer ourselves towards those goals and dreams that we have. And it makes total sense that we can't determine the timing necessarily of when things happen. Right. But like you're saying, like getting into flow and just putting yourself in the right headspaces, I think is one of the most important pieces to creating the kind of life you want and getting the things that you actually want out of life.
Yeah. And, and I think another piece of me getting that place was that I was so sure that I belonged there, that got transmitted to the people who were making the decision. I knew they could tell. They so wanted for this to all work out that, you know what they did? I've never heard of anybody doing this. They said, we want to come to your house where you live now and meet your dog.
Whoa.
And I said,
they were already planning the exception of they were like, let me just see for myself.
They were open.
They were open-minded.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
This is worth noting too, because so many of us think that because there are, by the way, Jen says that is some powerful manifesting to your story.
I love it, Jen, because right back at you, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea that we have rules, like sometimes we think because certain things have always been done a certain way, or because there are certain rules here or rules there, we get in our head that, we have to follow that, or those will never change, those will never be broken. And sometimes we use them as a reason to talk ourselves out of doing certain things or reaching out to certain people, when really so often rules change, things shift, people's minds change. You never know. And so if you keep an open mind about it, don't disqualify yourself or don't rule yourself out for one thing or another just because something has always been a certain way before, or just because certain things are done in certain ways doesn't mean that it can't change or that things can't be different this time or next time.
That's right. And part of that, I think, is how powerful our energy transmission is. I was so clear about this house being where I belonged that they got the memo. All, I said it out loud, but it transmitted to them in a more powerful way than words can do. When we're truly lined up behind our behavior, our thoughts, our ideas, our actions, our words, when we're really lined up with the core essence of who we are, that transmits to people around us. And that's sort of the universe supporting us, making our dreams come true. And that's really what happened. They didn't have to make this exception for me. Right. But they wanted the right person in this house, right?
And
that's
felt
what they wanted.
I think that's such a good point too, because when we feel something, truly feel it, like it's genuine, like heartfelt, a deep sense of whether knowing it, loving, like some kind of like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I really care about. This is what my heart cares about. There's a way when you carry that kind of energy, it transmits. It transmits through your voice, through your body language, through your energy. It's through the invisible energy you're sending out, through how people feel, and it affects people differently. And a lot of people can sense it, can just they just know, like, oh, this is a genuine person. Oh, this is an authentic person. Oh, this is someone who truly does care about this and wants this. And so it can have real world effects, even though these things are oftentimes invisible, like energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy, internal energy. It's real. It has real world effects, and it's undeniable. It's like our energy is contagious. And so when we really feel it, when we interact with anybody, whether they're selling a house or considering us for something, it affects people. It affects people, even in ways that we cannot see or understand quite fully.
So true, Chris. And I want to tell you this other little piece is that after I knew this was my house, that I wanted it, right? They hadn't decided that they were going to give it to me yet. It was a whole week that felt like a month where I was waiting to have it offered to me. I went through the motions of looking at other places, even though I thought this is a waste of my time. It's busy work because that's my house. And I did it anyway. And then, of course, this all landed exactly how I wanted it to. And it's a good lesson that sometimes we really spin our wheels doing way more work than we need to. So if I was going to have a do-over on how I manifested this, which was still super fast, I would not have spun out in the first place. I would have just gotten to a really relaxed place where I was envisioning what I wanted instead of getting all anxious and unglued. But, you know, that's life. We all do that.
We learn.
Cut ourselves a break.
Totally.
And then the second thing is that I maybe would have just not spent all that time looking at other places to kind of hedge my bet. I just, if there's ever confirmation from the universe, I got it. Like I knew, and it happened. I could have just sat back and relaxed and saved myself a bunch of extra work that was unnecessary. So, you know, that's my story.
For next time. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. What were you going to say, Chris?
Well, your story kind of reminded me of how I got my place, which was when I was moving. I don't know. This was like it was 2019. So 5 years ago. I knew that I was leaving, and I didn't know where I wanted. I knew I wanted to live in the area, but I didn't have a place in mind. So because I liked the area, I got a thought of, what if you just go outside and go down your street and write down all of the numbers on the for rent signs out on just go down the street, write down all the numbers, call them, and see if there's any availabilities, because I like the area. So I did that, and one of the numbers that I called was for I called and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have there's no availability anymore in that building. However, we do have another building that's going to be up in a few weeks if you'd like to come and see it." And I was like, and it was not listed, like sort of like with your house. It wasn't listed. And so I was like, sure. And I had just put a deposit on another apartment that I liked, but it wasn't quite where I wanted to live. It was just, it was nice, but it wasn't where exactly what I wanted. And so when I went and I checked this place out, there were like I love the high ceilings. I got this nice, I have a great view outside the window of all this nature. It felt like a tree house to me. So when I walked in, similar to what you had, I walked in and I was like, oh, this is the place. Like, this feels comfy to me. This feels cozy to me. And so I canceled the other deposit and I ended up going with this place, and I got it. And it was all because of this initial idea to go write down go make phone calls from the signs right outside my old place. It was so,
And so
but
that was like an inspired idea that just popped into your head?
yes, yes, yes. Because originally, kind of like you, I was kind of like crossing my I's, dotting my T's, no, the other way around, where you like, where you like go on Zillow or whatever, you go on the
Yeah,
websites and then you look for places that are available. That's how
right.
it started. And I was just sort of getting nowhere. And then I was like, why don't I just go out and like do some phone calls? And anyway, so that idea led to this. And so it just goes to show like you can never anticipate it. You can't guess or predict what is going to happen. You just follow those good feeling ideas and those impulses that you're getting, follow your heart, and create unexpected things can show up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so is there anything else in terms of your process that has gone unnamed here about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we walk through the process that I have in my head? It's different
Oh,
for
yes. I'd
everyone,
love to
but
hear your process, Chris.
okay.
Please tell us.
Okay, great, great, great. Okay. So I kind of break it up into 4 steps, very simple steps. The first one is dream up what you want and feel it. So, like, I think one of the most important things for manifesting anything we want in life is we have to know what it is that we want. Like, what is it? What is that we want? Right. So, having a dream consciously in our mind of like, that is important to me. That's what I'm looking for is super, super important. And getting
And
a sense
feel it?
and feeling and feeling. And what does that feel like? So if you dream, whether it's you're looking for a certain relationship, or whether it's you're looking for a certain home, or whether it's you're looking for a certain job, what is that? What is that specifically, as specific as you can get it? And B, what would that feel like if you had it? What would that feel like if that is your reality? What does that feel like? Because you want to sense like an emotional sense of what that experience is, so that you have some. It's almost like, you know how like with bloodhounds, like you smell a scent, they smell a scent, and then they go off and like track that scent down. It's
Yeah.
almost like we need that too, like emotionally, we need that scent of like where it is otherwise we're aimless. We're just like walking around and we have no sense for when we get that feeling like, oh, that's it, I should go in that direction, right? So
Right.
I know you've talked in your clubhouse rooms, we've talked about this before, and I heard you give
Yeah.
the advice too of like, name what you want, like and
Yeah.
feel what you want, right?
Get clarity. In fact, I had never heard this term astrocartographer, but
What is that?
it is somebody who tells you the perfect location for where you should live.
Oh,
And
I've never
so
heard that either.
I had a reading with somebody, so I'd gotten clear 6 months earlier that this is exactly where I wanted to live.
Hmm.
So I had that clarity. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's my step too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay. And then once you know what you want,
Yes.
the second thing I like to do is find some way to believe in it. Find some way to believe in it. And there's this scale that Esther Hicks and Abraham talk about, which is sort of like this belief scale, which is uh at the bottom is we don't believe. We don't believe it. And then a little bit better than that is we doubt it. And then a little bit better than that is we hope. We're hopeful it can
Mm.
happen. A little bit more than that is we believe. Like we believe that. And then at the very top is knowing. Like we just have this knowing sense that that is where we're going. That is what we're going to be. That's what we're going to do. And so on this scale, just get to a point where you can at least be hopeful in your dreams. Because as long as you're hopeful or above, it's almost like you're leaving the mental door open for yourself. If you don't believe in whatever it is, if you have a dream in mind, but you truly don't believe it will happen, you're going to turn away from ideas that are good. You're going to shut yourself down. You're going to talk yourself out of things. By having some form of belief, even if it's just a sliver of I hope this can possibly happen,
Yeah.
you leave a door open for yourself to where your mind, when things do pop up on the adventure towards that dream, you'll actually make those moves that will help you get there.
So tell me if this is if you see this as part of it.
Yeah.
When the story I just told about manifesting this house
Mm-hmm.
is I knew it was my house,
Mm-hmm.
but they hadn't offered it to me yet.
Mm.
So I believed it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was exactly where I wanted to be. So is
Yeah.
this part of step 2 or is that a different step?
I think that's it. Yeah, that is it.
Okay.
And you had that mix of like you're up there already, right? You're up there in that
Yeah.
I know, I believe, you don't know. And the thing is, it's not yeah, it's almost a little tricky because we never really know how things are going to come together. We
That's
can't
right.
possibly know that. And we also don't know when. We don't have a specific knowledge of the timing. That's all up to the universe, let that but just this but we can still approach all of these things with a knowing sense of belief. So yeah, just believing in yourself. And this is very common because I hear a lot of people talk about manifesting, and it's like I think it's almost like that they do a simple 3 steps of like ask, believe, receive, essentially, right? So
Yeah.
like this is sort of that second step of that. um
Yeah. And I've heard the I don't want to say who it was because I might be wrong, but
mm,
I've heard it said, it's out there, it's commonly quoted, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right.
right, I love that quote
So
too.
so this is really the power of believing in the dreams. And so I have heard it said, and I think this is good advice, that if you believe your dream is maybe too big to really happen,
Hmm.
I mean, the universe knows no different between a big dream and a little dream. But if
Hmm.
you don't believe it, choose something smaller
Hmm.
so that you can manifest that, get your training wheels on, keep your
Sure.
training wheels on, and see how you can manifest. And can I tell you, before you go to step 3, can I tell you a little story about that for me?
Yes, please.
Because
Yeah.
this is like one of my favorite things I ever manifested, and it was a little thing.
Mm.
So I'm living in Italy for 2 months, and I rented an apartment. I'm in a town nobody speaks English,
Mm.
and I don't speak Italian. I've picked up a few phrases, but I'm just surrounded by Italians, and in the grocery store I'm like pointing and
Mm.
gesturing,
Yeah, sure.
I had a blast, don't get me wrong. But the movie The Secret was out then.
Mm.
And so this concept was being talked about. And the person in the film said, if you're not sure you can believe in a big dream, just choose something small like a cup of coffee.
Mm. Mhm.
Manifest a cup of coffee. And so I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I want to manifest a cup of coffee.
Mm.
So the next day I get up and I go to the local, it's sort of a bar and a cafe. The old men are in the bar drinking in the morning,
Mm.
and then there's cafe tables outside. So I sit down by myself at a little table. There's nobody else around. And the waitress comes over, and I'm about to I say un cafe, and she says, that man is buying a coffee for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like someone you didn't know.
I didn't know he was like 3 tables away, out of the court. There's nobody around but this one guy a few tables over.
Whoa. Just out of the blue.
Out of the blue, I never got offered another cup of coffee just that morning, right after I set the desire
Whoa,
on
yeah.
manifesting a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
I My jaw dropped. It still does. And it was just a cup of coffee, but
Yeah.
it was incredible to me because
Did
this
you
was
know
this was a local town. It wasn't a tourist town.
Sure, yeah, yeah. Did you know at the time about manifesting? About intentional manifesting?
I was wanting to learn. This is what The Secret, that movie, is all
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
But no, I just knew what I saw in the film. I didn't have, let me put it this way. When I had manifested things for myself at other points in my life, I didn't really understand what I had done. If just sort of the stars aligned,
Yeah.
and or what. I didn't know how I was creating it, or at times when I didn't manifest it, how I was blocking the creation of it. I didn't understand the finer points.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah. So that's
Gotcha,
why
okay.
this felt like downright miraculous.
Yeah, sure. Especially when you start practicing. I didn't know about it until 5 years ago. I remember my like, my mom, I think she even had The Secret, like on the DVD, the movie. And she would watch Oprah and stuff. So this stuff was around me, but
Yeah.
I never picked up on it. I would just walk right by. I honestly, I would look at The Secret. I remember the movie had like a ink stamp or something on it, like a
Oh,
red
yeah.
ink. And I would wonder, like, what does that even mean? I wonder what that, but it never was like compelling enough for me to like actually look into it or watch it or anything.
Yeah.
So I had no idea about this. But the cool thing is, and we can get into this story after we talk about the steps, but
Yeah.
the biggest thing I manifested was a job on Conan, and that was something I did before I even knew what manifesting was. Because here's the thing about these steps, and manifesting in general, this is a natural thing we all do. This is natural. We
Yeah.
want something, we believe it in some way, and we move towards it, and we find our way to it. Like, this is not something that is uh, uh is super you have to know, you have to follow a strict set of rules, or you have to know something that everyone else doesn't. It's like, no, we can all do this without ever knowing that we're even doing it. But I will say, knowing the process and being able to do it intentionally makes it so much more fun to manifest.
Doesn't
And
it? It's like you
yeah,
cracked the code.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can do it over and over again about absolutely any area of life.
Right,
It can be
right,
about romance, about career, about home, about friends, about
right.
family, really about creativity, about
Hmm.
spirituality, about absolutely any aspect of life,
That's right.
about body, anything. Yeah.
Anything. That's the cool part.
Anything. Oh, and I have a good body manifestor story, but let's keep going. Step
Okay, okay,
3. What's
okay.
step 3, Chris?
Step 3 is enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. There's a reason for that. The reason is, like, that is the main point of life. That's the main reason anyway. For any dream, we've talked about this on past live streams, but for any dream or goal we have, the real reason we want it to begin with is because we think it will make us happy when we have it. So if happiness and enjoyment is the main goal, then that is the ultimate, then that's the ultimate way to manifest. It is. And
Yes.
there's a very logical reason behind this too, which is, when we enjoy our journey, our daily life, just like our day to day. And I don't mean necessarily only the time when you're looking for houses, or like scanning or making calls or scanning properties or whatever. I mean, like, enjoying the journey to your house, and the journey to Conan, the journey to anything that we want, is our day-to-day life. It's like, what are we doing this afternoon? What are we, even things totally unrelated to the dream or the aspiration that we have. If you enjoy your day as much as you can, you keep yourself in happy, positive, good feeling headspaces, which means you are equipped with all of the superpower resources that we all have innately within us. The things that we've talked about before, like, we get these good ideas or creative solutions to things, or getting just insight and clarity, or making better impressions on people. All of that comes because we're carrying our good vibes, right? So
Yep.
by enjoying the journey, it seems like almost like too easy a step, but it truly works on all these different levels, and helping you move towards whatever your dream is. Enjoying your way to it will help you logically get there.
This is so important, what you're
Hmm.
saying.
Hmm.
I don't think it can be underscored enough how
Mm.
important this is, because we open the floodgates of well-being and the support of the universe when we feel good. And
Yes,
so when we
yes.
step into our joy, we're literally opening. We're receptive. We're opening to the support of the universe. And
Hmm.
I never quite understood that whole saying before, until I understood this thing you're saying, the saying that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I'd be like, what the hell
Hmm.
is that? I just want to get there already. Like,
Right, yeah.
like, even when I'm driving somewhere, I just want to be there. Like, I don't,
Mhm.
being in traffic. So I'd be like, I know
Yeah,
all the wise people say this, and I
yeah.
don't understand it. And it's exactly what you're talking about, that when
Mhm.
we step into the joy of this present moment, everything opens up. It's like
Hmm.
the key unlocking the door to the floodgates of our well-being,
Yeah.
attracting everything we want to us. So it's not just about not being fixated on an outcome or
Hmm.
the destination, but it's about that's how you actually create what you want. It's the act
Yes.
of creation, is
Yes.
stepping into our joy right here, right now, and every single moment, every single step. And that's how we manifest ultimately. But what a great existence is that? Is
Hmm.
so when I was looking for that house, it felt really bad to feel all stressed out until
Hmm.
I dropped in. And then it was like, okay,
Yeah.
because I worried, what if I don't get there? That's being worried about the future.
Right.
Being
Right.
completely present in the joy of the moment is, this is my house. I so want
Yes.
this. This is my
Yes.
heart's desire.
Yes.
So yes, I love this step, Chris.
Yeah, and you know what? You also like any of us can prove this too, because we all know that as soon as we get whatever it is that we want, even the small things, as soon as you get that, there's a short-lived, oh, I'm happy about that
That's
moment.
right.
But as soon as like it could be, it's sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it's the next day, whatever. But even if you like make a ton of money, or even if you like move into a new place, whatever, there's always soon after that new thing that you want now. It's like we all instantly, we know this from like, every time I got a promotion in the TV world, it would then be like, I'd get it and I'd be super happy. And then very shortly after be like, okay, well, what's next? Where are we going next? Right. Because that's
Yes.
just a natural part of us so it can't be about the destination, because as soon as we get the destination, it's short lived and then it's on to the next anyway. So the really the destinations are just little dots along the journey. So it's really about enjoying the whole journey anyway.
The whole thing.
The
Then
whole
isn't
thing.
life a blast?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're not tied to whether this thing happens or not.
Right.
We're choosing joy. We're
Yeah.
not choosing to tie our happiness to outcomes, and some of those things we can't control. But we
Yeah.
can control how we feel. We get to choose how we feel. And then, that's the magic, is when we
Yeah.
choose to feel good, we get what we want.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a little like sub step to this that I find helpful for this one, which
Okay.
is um remember that as you enjoy the journey, you're on a moving path. Like it's happening right now. It's playing out right now as we speak. So when you're enjoying your journey to whatever it is that you're looking for, remember that it's in the process of manifesting right now. It's not something that's happening at some time in the future. You're not starting this, like the day before it happens or whatever. You're in the process right now of creating that for yourself, of shifting yourself in the right internal and external ways that can move you in that direction. So remember, when you're enjoying the journey, that you're on that moving path and the path is moving right now. So even if you, for example, even if you're watching this and you're hearing Sharon and I talk about it, and you're like, oh, that's a good, you pick one piece of little advice one little tidbit that you were like, oh, I didn't think about it like that before. I'm going to start incorporating that. I'm going to start doing that. First of all, finding conversations like this, and then secondly, resonating with something and pulling something from it, and then using that to adjust how you're approaching your life. If you do that, you're course correcting yourself in that moment, and this was then a part of your journey to that dream, right? If
Yes,
you
we're
adjusted
actually
something,
creating.
you're actually creating right now. It's not something that happens in the future. Every
That's
minute
right.
of the day is an opportunity for us to all gain some new insight, or be like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking too much like this, or I should be maybe focused more on that. And then and so any little adjustment that you're doing is part of your journey. It's happening right now, even as we speak right now. There are people that are like, if you get any insight, then that's part of your journey too.
Keep your
Without
dreams alive out there. If
that.
you're tuned in
Yeah.
and this is giving you inspiration for
Yeah.
dreams you want to come alive in your life, just know what Chris is saying. This You are actually creating it by
Yes.
dreaming it up and feeling really good while you're doing that.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
playing out right now, like live
Right.
in real time.
Yeah.
It's never not. We're never off the journey. We're always moving towards it in some way. And even the negative moments, just remember they're learning lessons. They're moments to for clarification. They help too. So
Yeah.
that's the third step. Okay.
And
Fourth.
wait, I just want to
Oh yeah.
interject here. I've heard different people who are pretty fully awake
Hmm.
talk about that they are so manifesting almost pretty much in real time because they're so lined up all the time that they really have to be aware of what they're desiring. And one of them, do you know who Wayne Dyer was? He
Oh
was this
yeah. Yeah. Sure.
wonderful, I love, such a wise voice.
Hmm.
And he was talking about one time being out in front of his house and he was putting something together. And he's like, oh, I need a screwdriver. And he turns around and one's just lying in the middle of the driveway. He didn't put it
Whoa.
there. It just showed up for him in the minute. Yeah. So I've heard people tell these stories about this is how quickly we can manifest things if we're really lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's something too to think about too, which is like there's so many uh like there's so many things that are just lying around. There's so many things that are just that are happening all around us that go unnoticed. And we're unaware of them. But if you stay in good vibing headspaces, nice and high vibe, nice feel good energy, you carry that around, it's almost like your spidey senses are on. And so you can note, like, for example, Wayne Dyer, if let's say he was in a terrible, shitty mood or whatever, and he
Right.
needed that screwdriver, it could have still been lying right there and he could have easily missed it. How often are we in like rushed moods, stressed moods, and we just completely miss things that are right in front of us
Yeah.
because we're just off. But when we're connected to ourselves, when we are tuned in, aligned with who we really are, all of our superpowers and all of our spidey senses are like tingling, they're on. And so we can spot the things that will help us and notice the opportunities that will help us and like get insight from like just hearing people talk that was like, oh, I can apply that to my life. That's a good idea. Things like that happen because when we're on, but we have to be on. That's one
You
of
have
the
to be on.
benefits of
So just to recap so far, before
Yeah.
we get to step 4, and that's
Yes.
coming, how to be a super manifester, the first step, dream up what you want and
Hmm.
feel it.
Hmm.
And then the second step is find a way to believe in it, not just hope, but really believe in it.
Hmm.
And the third one is enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And
Yes. And you could see like this is very simple, right? So far. It's
very
like
simple.
know
Enjoy.
what we want, believe in it, and enjoy the journey. This is not complicated,
Step
right?
into your joy. Right. And the tip for that one is as we enjoy the journey, we're actually creating what we
Yes.
desire.
Yes. It's
Oh,
happening right now. It is in the
yes.
process of unfolding as we speak. Yeah.
As we feel. Okay. So talk to us now, Chris, about step 4.
So step 4 is as you're moving along the journey, when you hit bumps along the journey, uh, change the negative and limiting stories you're telling yourself. This one is optional. Like I really do feel like we can work our way around it. I didn't specifically intentionally do this on my way to Conan. It just really just enjoying the journey. But this step helps smooth out the journey. We're gonna hit bumps along the way, meaning in our daily life as we're going along, we are going to naturally hit moments, whether it's with other people or with ourselves, or with the progress that we're trying to make towards something, where we're bothered by something. We feel upset. We feel disparaged. We feel discouraged. We feel frustrated. We feel sad. And just know that anytime you hit a negative moment, and you'll feel the negative energy, you'll feel like, oh man, it really sucks. Just know that it's the reason that you feel that way is because currently what you're focused on, the thoughts that are going through your head are negative and limiting. And that's your cue that you're getting from the universe, from yourself, from your own connection to all that is, that the way you're thinking right now does not line up with what your heart truly believes or feels. And so when you make these stumbles or hit these bumps, just know it's okay. We all do. That's a natural human part of life. But just know ultimately what you're going to want to do if you want to smooth out those moments or those bumps is to just find new ways of looking at things that support what you're doing and support yourself and support your goals and the dreams that you're going for.
Yeah. And I think an important aspect of what you're saying
Mhm.
is tuning in to self talk.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have really negative loops playing in our mind, negative self talk that are kind of in the recesses. We don't even realize the
Mhm.
negativity. We're sort of canceling our order for what
Mm.
we really want because we're like, oh, but I don't deserve it, or nothing ever, happens the way it's supposed to for me. I never win. I never get this stuff.
Mm.
And so that is a limiting story or
Mhm.
belief,
And you
and
can know that because it feels shitty when you think that way,
feels
right?
shitty. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And know that it is not the core essence of who we are when we go into that negative self-talk. That
Mhm.
is fear, that's old programming, old stories that don't serve us. And
Mhm.
so we get to reorient to, I notice I don't feel good. How do I want to feel?
Mm.
I want to be back in the joy. Great. What's going to bring me joy in this moment? And it might have nothing to do with, for
Mhm.
instance, the house I wanted to manifest or you wanted to manifest. It's like, well, I want to call up my best friend. I want to go smell some flowers. I want to
Mhm.
walk on the lawn in my bare feet
Mhm.
because that's going to bring me into my joy place right now. Ha, now I'm back on track.
Right,
And
right,
it's just like
right.
my friend saying to me, "Hey, you're all spun out, anxious. Why don't you just take a total break from all
Mhm.
this? 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's not it can only help you reset. Just take a break, 24
Yeah.
hours." And that was all I needed to hear because I knew she was right. I knew I felt
Mhm.
awful inside. I didn't like
Mhm.
feeling that way. And I
Right.
felt awful because I felt powerless at what was being put on me by outside forces in which I had no control. But the
Right.
truth is, we all have agency, 100%, to decide how we want to feel. And that's the difference is it's not about hanging our happiness on what other people do. Oh, they're trying to force me out of my house. That's
Mhm.
where I was. It's
Mm.
like, no, I get to decide. I'm
Mhm.
going to feel grounded. I'm going to wait for inspiration to act. And when I got
Mhm.
back in that frame of mind, it all unfolded like that.
Mhm. That's such a great thing. Like, that is such a great thing to keep in mind. It's and truly that is when you feel that bump, when you hit the bumps that throw you off, that make you feel bad, that make you doubt yourself or whatever the negativity is, makes
Yeah.
you feel insecure, whatever. Just remember, like, those are things you can do. It can be as simple as going outside if that's what your heart wants. It can be as simple as taking a 24 hours to just take your mind off of this completely and completely
Yeah.
just relax and enjoy and take your mind off of a subject altogether. Eh, Distraction or taking our mind off of things or finding new ways to look at that same exact subject that feel different or feel better, all of that is good stuff. That is this step. That's what this step is all about. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. These are great steps, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they really they what I love about them is it's so logical why they work. Like, it's common sense why this works. If you take any one of these steps, like, so for example, let's say the first one, you didn't bother dreaming up what you want, right? Well, then how would you ever manifest your dreams if you don't have any? Like, if you don't know
Right.
what they are, how do you know where you're going? So if you don't do that step, it's common sense you're not going to manifest amazing, cool dreams that you have. Second, if you don't believe in yourself, why would you ever do the things that you'll ultimately be doing that will help you get there? You wouldn't. You'll talk yourself out of that, or you'll say, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not supposed to be doing that, or I'm not good enough for that, or whatever. And you will just decline things or talk yourself out of moments that will be the steps that would lead you there. So, obviously, commonsensically, if you don't follow that step, you're not going to manifest your dreams either. Third step, if you don't enjoy the journey, if you're miserable all along the way, if every day you're in a shitty headspace, that means you're not coming up with great ideas. You're not making great impressions on people. If you were in that spun out headspace and then you didn't take that day to just sort of to like soothe yourself and like release your mind, you could have made the wrong impression on that person.
That's right.
Maybe a lot of desperation would come out in that, in that interaction, and he would be off, it can be off-putting for people if we are like vibing negativity, right? So like
For
peop-
sure. How many dreams of my own have I squashed because I did that?
right.
And I didn't even realize. And then what happens to us sometimes is when that we get into that cycle where we do that, we have a negative belief system and we start to feel poorly, and then we come across as stressed out.
Mhm.
They're breeding our energy, and it doesn't happen. And we thought, like, we sort
See,
of confirm
right.
our
We
limiting
knew it. I knew it.
belief
I
or
knew it.
story. Yeah, see, I knew it. And
Uh-huh.
this is where we're ripping off the veil of no, no. This is how you actually can make things happen is
Yes.
partly by stepping away from negative stories, negative beliefs. And I can tell you another manifesting story where I had such a limiting belief, and it shifted everything for me to turn that limiting belief around. But first,
Hmm.
I want to ask you if you have any more stories to share of manifesting.
Well, I mean, I think my biggest one, I manifested a lot of really cool things in my life. I had I mean, I've manifested a ton of friends, like just a ton of like meaningful friendships in my adult life that I just cherish and I'm close with. I've manifested freedom in my life, like a true sense of freedom to be able to live it the way I want to be able to do the things that I'd like to do, to be able to spend my time the way I like to spend my time, and do the work that I enjoy. I've manifested getting rid of peace in my life, getting rid of my anxiety. I've
Mm,
manifested not having panic attacks
that's
anymore.
huge.
That's huge. I've manifested the information that has helped me start this journey of happiness coaching. I've manifested, but the biggest and of course my biggest manifestation actually is finding consistent happiness. Like that is the biggest. That is like the life changing. Like just I don't need anything else. I have that. Like I could die now happy that I've discovered a way to live my life where I actually enjoy it most of the time.
So can we
Um,
talk about that for a second?
yes,
Because
always.
okay, because I have questions for you about that. Because
Okay.
I here's my first question for you. Is that something you did one time and now you're happy all the time, or is there a regular practice? And if so, how often do you do it?
It's a practice and it's daily and it's all the time. It is. But I will say starting the first day that I intentionally started practicing it, I saw the results. And the results were pretty immediate and pretty massive in terms of like the effect that it had on me. I could feel the sense of um, anxiety that I used to carry every single day just not be there anymore once I started practicing this. But if I didn't do this every day, if I didn't intentionally prioritize my happiness and understand what my emotions were telling me and let them guide me, I would fall off of it too. I would have my moments where, I think a lot of people, and I certainly felt this way before I found this for myself, which was, life is a mixed bag. And, like when good things happened, I felt good. When bad things happened, I felt bad. And my happiness was sort of left up to the whims of the world around me. But that's no way to live life. That's not a way to find consistency in your happiness. You really have to practice it. And it does take
So
some
let's get
con
inside your practice.
Yeah.
Okay? Cuz the first thing you said is you made being happy a priority. So that
Yeah.
sounds like the first thing is you're moving it way to the front. It's
Yeah.
a priority, and on a daily basis you're sort of recommitting to that priority. Am I right?
Yeah, it's like and it can be as simple as you just I call it living a feel good lifestyle, but it's as simple as you're making choices every day that your heart wants. And I know you've talked about this in your clubhouse rooms too. It's like
Yeah.
what is in this moment what you most want to do and then allowing yourself to do that as often as you can. And it doesn't mean that every single minute of every single day you can do what you want. It's not, I mean, in an ideal world, that would be nice, but some people, because they know that, they use that as an excuse to be like, well, I can't do what I want. And then they talk themselves out of even doing the smallest little things that would make them happy. And really, prioritizing your happiness is as often as you can from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed listening to yourself and your heart and going, what would I like to do? And it might be very different than what you did yesterday. It might be very different than what other people are doing. And it really is a listening to your own self, a learning how to listen to yourself and prioritize what would feel the most fun, what would feel the most interesting, what would feel the most exciting, what would feel the most compelling to you, what would feel the most, what would you be the most passionate about, what would you be the most fascinated by or curious about, and letting yourself actually do those things, because you will free yourself when you start doing that. You'll
What
find
stopped you before? What stopped you from doing that in the
I
past?
didn't know I had a choice.
Ah,
I felt like what I felt pressure from other people, and it's not their fault. I could have said no. I could have declined things I didn't want to do, but I didn't realize. I felt pressured. I felt guilted if I didn't do things. People would give me a hard time. I felt obligated to certain things. Oh, I said yes to this, so I have to do it now, even though I don't want to do it anymore. It's things like that. It's falling into these patterns that I think are so common, but really can make us feel trapped and make us feel like we don't have agency or
yeah.
sway over our own life. And when we start to just say to ourselves, actually, I do have a choice in this and I can say no to things. And it's okay if even if I said yes to something before, if I'm not feeling it right now, or if I'm not feeling well, or if I need something else in a certain moment, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your plans. It's okay to say no to people or to decline. And that was something that really freed me in a way that I didn't ever even realize that I didn't realize that I was causing a lot of my anxiety by doing
Yeah.
by trapping myself in this way until I
Living a
started.
life out of obligation rather than what you really desire, your heart's
That
desire.
was it. That was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so key. It's so important for people to hear this. Thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Oh,
Really.
yeah.
Before we wrap, I just want to share one more manifestation story with you
Okay, great.
because it's maybe my favorite one because I had such a huge limiting belief about this.
Mm,
So it was about my weight. My limiting belief was I struggle with my weight. It's hard for me to get to the weight that feels really right in my body.
mm,
So since the time I was maybe 13, I would gain weight. I would go on diets. I'd lose it. I'd gain it back. The yo-yo dieter was
mm,
me.
mhm,
And behind that was a belief that it's a struggle. And it was. So I was carrying all this extra weight, not happy about it, but that's how powerless I felt because I had this limiting belief going on.
mhm,
So then I stepped into my manifestor energy
mm,
and I said, I really want this. Let it be easy. Poof, put it out to the universe. And then maybe the next day, this inspired idea flew into my head. Why don't you reach out to this person I hadn't been in touch with a long time ago to see if they know of anybody or any program that might be good?
mm,
So I did on Facebook or on email, something. And immediately I get a response back. Hey, I had a lot of really good success with this one program. It comes with a health coach. You want me to connect you? And I said, sure.
mm.
And so I had a conversation and I decided to enroll in this program that teaches you healthy habits for life. And Chris, I dropped the weight and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Mm.
To your point about enjoying the journey, it's not what I would call a diet. And they don't even call it that. It's how to have optimal health
Mm.
because you're developing healthy habits for life. That's what
It's
it's
a
all
lifestyle.
about.
It's a lifestyle
It's a
choice, right?
lifestyle, that's
Yeah.
right. And they help you customize it. That's the coaching. Personalize it for your body and your needs along the way. I've learned so much about myself. And to the point where my friends will be like, when are you going to be done with that damn diet so you can have whatever you want again? And I'm like, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. And one of my friends said, well, I want to do it too. And so she's on it and she feels the same way I do. She just loves it.
Oh, good. Oh,
Because it
good.
inspired her. So,
Yeah.
yeah, when we feel inspired, we not only, make our own dreams come alive, but sometimes we inspire people around us. It's just a
Yeah.
gift that keeps giving. So, this is one of my very favorite things. I no longer have that limiting belief. I don't think I realized I had made it like law that I
Mhm.
struggle with my weight. And I'm here to
Mm.
say, nope, I do not claim that. That is not my truth. My
Oh.
truth is I have stepped into these healthy habits that are there for life. And that is front and center for me, is feeling really congruent in my body. And I am. And I do. And not every day is perfect, but then I regroup when it's not, bumps along the road, and I
Mhm.
keep going.
Hell
That's my
yeah.
story.
Oh, I love that story. I love that story because you basically like made an internal shift in your mind, your
Yeah,
mindset of like I don't want to own this anymore. I want to think differently. I want to feel
that's
differently.
right.
You shifted internally, and then you popped an idea that led you down a direction to help you get the external results that you were looking for after you changed the internal and the
That's right.
internal, right? So it's like shifting the internal first, the heart and the head,
Yeah.
and then you can get the right ideas to move towards what you want your outside world to look like. I think that's so cool.
So true. And just like you said, we get to decide how we want to feel. And you claimed I want to be happy.
Yeah.
We get to decide whether our journey is easy or hard. And I
Mhm.
was like, I choose the easy way. I
Mhm.
have chosen the hard way on this path of my body and my weight most of my life. I
Mhm.
choose the easy way. And guess what, Chris? It has unfolded with ease. This is
Mhm.
all we have to do is decide how we want to feel and that we choose the easy way. And this
Yeah.
is really part of the power. It's not crazy talk. It's part of the power of being
Yeah.
a super manifester. You heard
Yeah.
it here. Believe it. Don't just believe it. Try it on for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, take away what inspires you. Try
Mhm.
it on for yourself. And that's where you will get the lived experience of what works and doesn't work for you, how to be your own super manifester.
Mm.
And
I
that's my
love
wish for
yeah.
everybody who's tuning in.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I love what you're saying about the ease part of it because I feel like that's what sort of makes what we're talking about here on this live stream different than a lot of personal development things that I see out in the world because everyone there's so many people that believe in this go go go, this push yourself outside your comfort zone, this work really hard, try really hard, hustle, grind, like that's a very popular mentality. And honestly, people do get results that way. But there are other ways that you can approach life that can be just as
That's right.
productive, just as fulfilling,
More.
and more fulfilling, and way more enjoyable all along the way.
Way more. So many people have
Yeah.
said to me, I don't know how you do it, the willpower. And I said, it doesn't take willpower. I'm
Right.
still, it's not about willpower. It is,
You're not fighting yourself. You're not.
no, I'm
Yes.
not at
Right.
all.
Right.
That's why these diets and things never worked for me because I was relying on willpower.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, try this on for yourself, everybody
Yes. Yeah.
who's listening. And if you're like, well, I'm still scratching my head about some things, reach out to us.
Hmm.
So, you can reach Chris on his website anytime you want, which is chrisnewth.com.
Yes.
And
You
I'm
could.
putting it up here for you. Yep. And you can get
Perfect. Yeah.
his cheat codes, which
Yes.
are these, brief little ways to plug you into the magic of the
Yes.
universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You can sign up for cheat codes to happiness on my website. It's basically like a little email that you get each day that just gives you the most life changing mental mindset shifts that I made in my life that help me find the consistent happiness. It's not, and by the way, like, I would love to wrap up today by just reminding everyone manifesting your dreams is not insane. It's not impossible. It's not a fantasy. It is truly realistic that you can do it. Even the biggest dreams that you have, as someone who manifested a dream on my childhood dream television show, which was working on Conan, that seemed unlikely. That seemed very and in fact, when I moved to Atlanta, I started getting into like TV jobs. I would tell people what I wanted, and there was this not suspicion. What's the word? It's like this, like,
Skepticism?
skepticism. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's a skepticism
Yeah.
because It's like, oh, well, that's
Yeah,
a
sure. Everybody wants to work for Conan O'Brien. Good luck with
sure.
that.
Right, right. There's this sense of like, that's too, I'd be in daytime talk shows, and there was a lot of people there that wanted to be in late night because they would see late night as sort of this more prestigious genre or something, that were taken more seriously. The shows were like more long lasting often. And so people would listen. Like, I would say I wanted to be in late night, and there would be like, oh, well, late night's really hard to get into, that's almost impossible to get into. And then the idea of Conan, it was like, that's a show that's been on the air for 20 something years. How there he has a staff from New York that he brought over to LA, so like they've all been staffed up, and like there'd be no openings. It's like all these reasons, right? All these like rational reasons why it would truly feel impossible. But
Right.
have the dream anyway, because there are so many, with your house, there are rules that we think are in place. Like, a show has been an established show forever, and they have a staff that's been there forever, there'd be no openings. Like, that sounds on the surface level like that would be true, but there's always these little changes, these little tweaks, these little openings, these little opportunities that, if you're lined up with it, if you're following your dream, if you're enjoying your journey, if you believe in yourself, you naturally and organically and logically end up finding your way to the right people that can help you, to the right opportunities that can help you, to the right openings that can help you. And things just sort of line up in this beautiful way that when it happens, you're like, oh my God, it's so exciting and so like thrilling. But at the same time, it's like, oh, but I did believe that, and I did follow that, and I did do that. So no matter how big your dream is, I just want to remind everyone, you can logically get there. It's very logical. You could do it. And we've talked about the steps today, but I just want to let you know, whether your dream is small or medium or big, anything is possible. And it just takes listening to yourself and enjoying the journey.
Yeah, dream big, feel good while you're doing it. Choose the easy way.
Choose the easy way. Sharon, where can people find you?
You can join me on Clubhouse, where I've been for twice a week for over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a free smartphone app. Download it today. It's global. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm there for about an hour. I do a Q&A. You can get support for any dream or any challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a Q&A, to help guide you to your wisdom for the answers.
Yeah, and you don't have to be on video because it's Clubhouse.
No,
so
it's just audio. It's live audio. And coming soon will be my website, SharonHoffmanLiving.com. So stay tuned for that. That'll be announced in a future live stream. And Chris and I have been doing these about once a week. So I look forward to seeing you on Clubhouse or getting Chris's cheat codes. And please reach out to us and let us know if you have some topics you want to talk about in Happy and Wise, or have us talk about. If you want to be a guest, let us know. We'd love to dialogue with you. Or if you simply have questions that you want us to address, let us know that too. We're here for you.
Yes, I would love more interaction in future live streams where we have people commenting and they're sharing their stories in the chat, kind of like what Jen did today, sharing like little their thoughts as we go, asking questions, jumping on with us. That would be really fun. Like, let's have more conversations. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, you have anything that's coming to mind that you're interested in, next time that we're on and you catch us, type in a question on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you're watching. We can see the chats when you do, and then we can real time have conversations with you and answer questions or refer to comments or just otherwise interact with you. That would be really, really fun.
It would. And we do have some special guests coming up on some future live streams, so look out for that too. Just keep tuning in. If you're not already a Facebook friend with me, please like my Sharon Hoffman Living page, be friends with me on my Sharon Hoffman personal page, and check out Chris's YouTube channel.
Yes, if you're watching right now on YouTube, just hit the like and subscribe button. It's right there. You'll catch these. I think if you hit the bell, you'll catch these as notifications for future live streams. When we go live, you'll get a notification, and then you can watch us talk about something else really in depth.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I think that's about it for this live stream about how to be a super manifestor. We hope you have remembered some things that are already in here that you already know that you can put to really practical, great use in your life to make any dream you have come alive.
Mm,
Start right now,
that feels good. That feels just good to hear.
right? I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'm going to create some
I'm
new dreams, Chris.
hell yeah, let's do it. All right.
Let's do it. And then we can share next time.
Awesome. All right, Sharon. I think we'll wrap here. All right,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks,
Have a great day,
everybody.
and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.